Hi everyone, I'm Mary Willett and I am currently a student at San Jacinto College where I'm studying health information management and I plan to graduate next spring at the end of the next spring semester. A little bit about myself. I was a Navy brat. My dad was in the Navy for 21 and a half years and we lived all over the United States. Went to several different schools between kindergarten and fifth grade. We ended up in New Orleans, and that's where my dad decided to retire because we were going to get transferred yet again. My mom said, "No, we're not going to we're not going to do this again. Move the kids again." So anyway, I have a sister who's 5 years older, and I have two brothers, and I'm in the middle, 10 and a half months older than my little brother and 10 and a half months younger than my older brother. So we were super, super close in age. So I graduated from high school in New Orleans, and the schools at that time, Louisiana was at the very bottom of the worst schools in the country. And so I graduated from high school with a horrible high school education. So I wasn't at all prepared for college, so I decided to follow in my dad's footsteps and join the military. So I joined the Louisiana Air National Guard, and I went to San Antonio for basic training, came back, and I was able to do on-the-job training in New Orleans at Belle Chase, and I was able to get a full-time position. My career field was administration, so I was a secretary for a colonel and four chief master sergeants. So that's what I did for about 3.5 years. And then my parents decided that they wanted to try a move to Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where both my mom and dad were born and raised and where they actually met. So I decided to join them on this adventure, because I did not want to raise a family in New Orleans. Though I didn't have a family, I was hoping that I would have one day, and I didn't want to raise them in New Orleans for my own personal reasons. So I went with them, and I joined the Minnesota Air National Guard. And the day that I enlisted, I went on a job interview and actually had the job before I even drove off the base. So I was lucky, and I got a full-time job pretty much right away. And about 2 years later, I was able to cross-train from administration to the supply chain logistics area of the Air Force. So I thought it was a great opportunity, A, to learn something new, and B, I was going to be making more money, which was huge because, I was on my own. And so it was pretty good career change for me. So when I was about 33 years old, I met David. He was a patient, in a home health care patient of my best friend who had just graduated from nursing school, and David was her first client. So she would tell me about him, and I'd like, well, how about if I come to work with you one day? And so that's what I did. And then I met him, and he had Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And so I just kind of was hooked the second I walked in the door, and I just kept coming back. And long story short, we did end up falling in love, and we got married 3 years after we met. And unfortunately, in 2003, he passed away, and we were together for 9 years almost, and married for almost 7. So it was a really sad time in my life, losing my husband. And it was a really great love story from the get-go. And, I still miss him every day. And it was just an anniversary, 14-year anniversary on the 8th. So, and I just got back from Minnesota, and he's buried at the Fort Snelling Cemetery. So I was able to go to the cemetery to visit his gravesite. So anyhow, that was a not so happy time in my life. So I retired in 2006. I had 20 years and 4 months of active duty, and the rest of inactive, in total 25 years in the Air Force. So I was able to retire. And unfortunately, when I retired, the economy was really, really bad. And so, but I did land a pretty decent job. And it was like 9/10 of a mile from my house. And it was like so perfect. I was a scheduler for air conditioning production. And it was just so awesome. And unfortunately, the economy caused the company to move all their production to China. Shock, right? So anyway, in 2009, I decided, after I got laid off, I was like, well, I guess now's another opportunity to move. All my grandparents were gone, and I'm like, I really don't have, of course, I have, all my friends, but there was really nothing keeping me there. And so I had the opportunity to come to Houston, and I had a place to live where I didn't have to sell my house. And I'm still able to go back and stay at my house when I go home. And so I moved to Houston in 2009, and I was able to get a full-time job working at an HVAC company, and worked there for 5 years. I was living in Pearland, and then I moved to Cypress, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this commute, so I quit. So I, in December, decided to look back into jumping back into the program, and this is where I'm at now. So anyway, my hobbies are tennis. Love tennis. I actually played softball till I was 43 years old. So like from my early 20s to 43. So that was like something that we did every summer. Sometimes I played 2-3 teams, and it was pretty fun. So now I just play tennis. However, I have a frozen shoulder, and so I haven't really played tennis since November. So I'm hoping to be optimistic and that I'll be able to get back into tennis, which is a sport that I actually really love a lot. It's my favorite sport. But I also love football, and I like baseball. And I follow Minnesota football and baseball team, New Orleans Saints, LSU, Tigers, football, baseball. Go LSU. They're in the World Series, College World Series this weekend. So yay. And so is A&M, and I love A&M also. And I like the the Astros and the Texans as well. So I have 2 dogs. They're like my kids. Maggie was born the day before David died. And she is just turned 14. And I have Mia, my black and white beautiful Shih Tzu. And she is going to be 11 in July. Maggie's a little weenie dog. But here's a picture of my girls. Can you see? Yeah, there's my beautiful girls. So anyhow, good luck everybody this semester. I hope everybody does well, and I'm looking forward to seeing whatever this group project is all about. And I'll be working with some of you this semester. So anyway, goodbye.